Our next step in his organization, how are Jen and Jay going to put together a company to do this? Initially, it's just going to be them doing the first feasibility studies, and that's because they don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money to validate the basics of the idea. And they also don't want to go out and spend a lot of money on third parties and things until they've done that and they know what they want those people to do. They know what assumptions they want to work with those people to go validate. Once they're ready to go, they hire Mikhail to help with mobile development. Jack's working on media editorial, and Ruben and Rita are helping Jay out on sysadmin, getting the application set up on servers. And Rita is a senior developer who's helping Jay on application development. They don't need to worry about what the organization is going to look like in 5 years, but that also doesn't mean that they shouldn't delineate roles and responsibilities. You can see things set up here in a relatively traditional org chart, but you can also see that while Jen, for instance, is taking the responsibility of CEO, she's also reporting to Jay down in support and documentation, and that's obviously not something you do in a traditional company. This is important because it's important to know who's responsible for what, even if it's two people doing 80% of the work, and that also gives you a structure to bring more people and contractors and stuff in as you go along. Jen and Jay are coming into this with pretty strong foundation skill sets. Jen's a general manager and a marketer. Jay has design and development experience, but you can easily put yourself in a position to do much of the initial upfront work on your startup. I recommend starting with these foundation concepts that we've talked about today. Then you want to achieve a basic degree of technical literacy. That doesn't mean learning to code, that means understanding a few key concepts. Software fundamentals, I think the model view controller framework is a really great way to understand the basics of how to decompose a piece of software and think about what it does. Architecture fundamentals are the basics of how does one application talk to another application, or how do they integrate together. Roles and systems in a technical team. What's the difference between a QA and a sysadmin and a dev? What systems do they use? What are important for these different job roles, and what should you expect of them? And on collaboration, it's good to understand Agile as a product owner. That doesn't mean putting yourself in a position to run an entire dev team. It means being the person who can come in and formulate those user stories and answer questions in a constructive fashion for a development team as the voice of the market. And then as you're scaling, especially if you're a first-time manager, I think it sounds boring as toast, but it's great to learn about process design. It'll save a lot of wasted time in your organization. Then there's all sorts of specialties you can learn about: Ruby, Python, SEO, analytics. But I really don't recommend going out and learning about these things until you have a strong grasp on these fundamental concepts about what you want to do and how to describe it. And there's a lot of great places to go out on the web and learn about these things. Starting a tech business discusses all these things except the details of the various specialties. And I wrote it because I believe these are the important things for folks to learn. That said, there's also a whole list of resources and other books on the website if you want to look at some other options.